What does an orphan go through? Well, an orphan has no hand to hold. Just think about that. I can get emotional just thinking about it. I can't imagine a little child with no hand to hold. I know that sounds very simple. I can't imagine 2 million orphans where we're building orphanages. 2 million orphans. Little children who have no hand to hold. Orphans have no security to feel. Just take your security away from yourself. An orphan has no security. They have nobody that is capable of giving them security. And that carries a lot with it, protecting them, putting that roof over their head. An orphan has no security to feel. An orphan has no knowledge to depend on. Now watch this, folks. Knowledge is very important, isn't it? Knowledge is understanding. Knowledge is being able to interpret life. How does a child do that? Knowledge can be as simple. Listen to this. Knowledge can be as simple as walking up to a busy highway and knowing not to walk across in front of motor cars and traffic. That's knowledge. Does a child know that? So an orphan has no knowledge to depend on. Orphans they don't have that knowledge that provides that security that says, don't go there. Stop. That's why we parents, when our children get away from us, we become very anxious, very nervous, because how does a child know? That's why we have laws in the country. When you come up behind a school bus and a school bus is stopping, you stop. That's law. Why? Because it's a school bus? No, because there are children on board. Orphans, if you think about an orphan has no filter to screen the questions of life. All of life has to be filtered through a screen. If you've got no means to filter life's data, what you do is you end up responding to raw data. When you respond to raw data, you have an inclination to knee-jerk, to respond too quickly. You don't think about it. You cannot filter it. You've got no means to be able to attest and to judge, evaluate what it is, to speak slowly and deliberately because you've thought through it. There's no filter. So orphans don't have a filter. They've got nowhere to go. So they become candidates for abuse. You think of all the scandals that go on. The abuse of little children. Nowhere to go. They're trapped. Orphans have no accountability to correct. Accountability is very important. I am an accountable person. I'm accountable to my wife. I'm accountable to my children. I'm accountable to the ministry team. I'm accountable to this church. I'm accountable to my friends. I have an accountability, but most of all, I'm accountable to God. I'm accountable. Orphans have no accountability to correct them. They've got nowhere to go for accountability. So if you take accountability out of a person's life, they're in trouble. Orphans have no table to sit at. Where does an orphan go to have a meal? They're just really quite as simple as that. Orphans have no table to sit at. They don't make a table themselves. They don't have the money to get the food to put on the table. So they have no table to sit at. In any sphere of life or existence, orphans have no frame of reference to refer to. A frame of reference is very important in life. Now, folks, this is very important. I want you to say this. Jesus said, I will not leave you as orphans. Jesus said that. I'm not going to abandon you as an orphan. I am going to come. I'm going to send my Spirit. So all of these things, a hand to hold and security to feel and knowledge to depend on and a filter through which to screen and accountability to correct and a table to sit at and a frame of reference to refer. Jesus was saying, I'm going to do something for you that you cannot do for yourself. So we get into Acts chapter 2. If you look at Acts chapter 2, and I'm just going to look at verse 14, Acts chapter 2 and verse 17, I beg you. I just want you to look at verse 17. This is what Peter said. He said, in the last days, God said, I will pour out my Spirit on all people. And we've already discovered that the last days refers to the coming of Jesus when he was born in Bethlehem as Messiah, and it will culminate when Jesus comes back to set up his kingdom. We are living in the last days.